Mr. Lee.
Some other questions, but I wanted to ask, I'm sure you've seen the story in The Guardian, actually by one of our colleagues or former colleagues here, Roger, about the systematic rape by an air contractor of the MONUSCO in the DRC. And they basically say that there's some pretty horrendous evidence or descriptions of what happened, that the UN kept paying the contractor after with some idea of rehabilitating it. But I wanted to ask you about, there was an OIOS investigation of it, and it seems, since it's also a vendor, it obviously brings up this case in Bentiu, in which it was a vendor, and the UN said it could do nothing. First, do you have what can you say to those who say it's pretty horrendous to continue to pay a contractor which raped a underage
Well, I mean,
girl
I
in
think
DRC?
what is horrendous is what happened to the victim and what was done to the victim by those two employees of UTAIR. We go back to a story that was in fact reported, I think, when it happened a few years back. Our understanding is that the contractors have been, at the time, were removed and fired from the company. Both the DRC judicial authorities and the Russians were informed of our investigation into the case. As we explained in the article, a procedure was put in place at the time to monitor the vendor and the behavior of the vendor and its staff. That monitoring mechanism continues. Every 6 months, it is reported to our colleagues in the Department of Management, who review it. I think again, I think the issue of vendors and contractors is a very legitimate one to explore. Given the criticality of air support, there was a discussion among the Department of Management. A system was put in place to ensure that this particular company was monitored on a regular basis, and that continues. We continue to do that. The behavior of our vendors and the staff that work for them should be at the same level of ethics and behavior that we expect of our own staff as they represent us.
Was there any account for the victim or victims in the DRC? Was there ever actually any accountability, either criminal or civil?
As again, the findings of the OIOS investigation, of the UN investigation, were presented to both the DRC and to the Russian authorities, and I think you'd have to ask for them what happened on the criminal end. As you know, we have no criminal authority.
In the South Sudan case, where it was also an alleged rape by an employee of a vendor, was any information given to the authorities of either South Sudan?
I think we're still, what happened to Megan Nobert is being looked into. As I've said, both here and in interviews, she suffered horrendously, and our heart goes out to her. UNICEF, which was the agency that had the contract with the vendor for which her accuser, the alleged attacker, worked for, was in contact with the vendor, got him removed. I know our colleagues at UNICEF are absolutely appalled by what happened to Ms. Nobert, and when I have more information, I will share it with you.
One final thing. Do you see this as sort of a I mean, given that one, is there a pattern, and two, for example, since it's a UN system, did UNICEF impose any of these similar rehabilitation and reporting requirements on life reconstruction?
As I said, I don't have all the facts surrounding this case. I think, again, I would say that we expect, I wouldn't call it a pattern. I think there are hundreds, if not more, of vendors and contractors that work on behalf of the UN who do a spectacular job, partner agencies, partner humanitarian NGOs, but we do expect anyone who works on behalf of the United Nations to behave to the same ethical standards. I have
just one last one. The pattern I was asking about is a pattern of a lack of accountability, because the UN is working in places that may have not very good, not very developed judicial systems, and because the UN itself is immune and uses
I
its
think
immunity
this is
in cases
obviously
like
something
Haiti.
we need.
That's what we need
It's
to pat
something
on
we
the
need
desk about.
to look at. Our ability to prosecute people criminally is obviously not there. It's up to national, either the authority where the crime took place or the citizenship of where the people worked for.